I'm Lizy Hoeffer. I've been a Valley lender for what will be 22 years in October, which is kind of nuts. I did start when I was 19, so I'm still fairly young.
He's 19.
But I have seen a lot of different markets, and what you guys are experiencing with this big change in commission structure is something that we've already gone through in lending. And I want to give you guys some sales tactics for how you guys can learn to sell differently, okay? So I would generally say that the consumer's perception of finding real estate is that they find their properties on Zillow and that you guys let them in, okay? And we've done a really poor job as an industry, so real estate agents, lenders, title companies, of articulating the value of real estate. And so what I want you guys to learn today is how do you do that in a meaningful way that one is going to attract more clients, and then two, that separates you from your competition. Okay, so that's what we're going to learn today. This is a real workshop, which is why I don't have workbooks, because it's meant to be interactive, okay? So if you guys...
I came to be interactive.
Yep. If you guys are going to be interactive, you're going to get a lot of stuff from here, okay? So how many of you guys are familiar with what is known as a unique selling proposition, so a USP?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone want to volunteer and tell me what a USP is?
It's what makes you or your product unique and valuable to a consumer?
So it's a tangible item that a consumer can walk away and say, this person gives me X, okay? And so every USP has to address your consumer's primary problem. And that primary problem is going to have to relate to time, money, or stress. Okay? So everyone knows what USP stands for, right? So we got time. So unique selling proposition. Okay. Now, in time, this could be quick time or short time. This could be save money or make money. And stress is either fun or easy. Does that make sense? All right, so you guys have to be one of these things. Okay. Now, how many of you guys have been in business more than a year? Okay, how many businesses more than 5 years? Okay, so between 1 and 5 years, right? Okay, so here's the thing. You're going to want to know and look back on your clients to really see which one of these problems you have to address. So when I look back on my clients and I look at all the closings and all the people that refer me closings, the biggest outlier percentage of clientele that I help is first-time home buyers. Okay, second to that is move-up buyers. Okay, and because of that, I know that their biggest problems are going to have to pertain to cost. Okay, how expensive is it to get into a home, right? Money out of pocket and then monthly payment. Okay, so cost and affordability are the two things that I address in my USP. Okay, so in real estate, how many of you deal with primarily buyers? Okay, so two. How many people deal with primarily sellers? Okay, this change impacts both of you. Okay, one, sellers become buyers. Okay, and if you were a listing agent primarily and your sellers no longer want to pay buyer agent fees, you as the listing agent, because you get a marketing disadvantage, have to figure out different ways of selling that property. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so what I'd like for you guys to do, if you have a piece of paper, and if you don't, you can put it in the notes section, but try not to squirrel on me. I want you to write 5 problems that your main client faces.
We're just kind of new, so we don't really have a...
Well, so if you're new, right, as consumers, what do you think the big problems are with buying real estate? Okay, like you're young, right? You're 19. Did I hear that correctly? Okay. So as a 19-year-old buying a property, what's your biggest obstacle?
Getting money to buy the property.
Money to buy it. Do you know the process? Okay, so the process would be knowledge. You probably don't have a 2-year job history.
Yeah, that's true.
right? Is your income sufficient to be able to afford it? Okay. Do you see how all of
Yeah.
those? Now, these are all the reasons, the objections, right, you're going to get. You have to learn solutions for them, which is going to be their USP. So write them down,
Okay.
okay? Did you guys get 5, or at least a couple?
Got a couple.
So, Cedric, which are yours?
Cash to close, knowledge, time, and I would say relationship as far as like trust.
Okay, so as a buyer's agent primarily,
Mhm.
right? And you deal with first-time home buyers, I'm assuming? Or-
Investors.
Investors,
Yep.
okay. Right, so we're gonna say investor clients. Now, access to funds is typically everyone's, but generally speaking, how vetted are your investors?
We're hard money, so 0 vetting.
Okay, so 0, but are they experienced investors? Are
Could
they?
be first time, could be a little bit of everybody, but I would say a majority of the people that are like coming to us, new,
Okay.
first time.
So a couple things, you guys have to know specifically who the people are. So first time investor,
Yep.
what price point?
I would say like 3 to 500,000.
Okay. And then how much money are they putting down?
10 to about 20%.
10 to 20%.
Yep.
Okay, so first time investors, you can get 10% down in
Yeah.
hard money financing?
Yes.
Okay. That's a unique selling proposition right there. So for the general public, the news is out there that you need 20% down to buy an investment property. That's like standard knowledge. Okay? So whenever you have an outline solution that's different than everyone else, you can say, hey, most people investing in property have to put down 20 to 25% down. I have a great solution, even for first-time investors, with as little as 10% down. Did you hear that? Right? That's a unique selling proposition. Okay? It says what you get as an end user to use your services. Okay? Now, the important part, because you don't want to screw this up, is you don't want to have too many things in your one sentence. Okay, so that's one of his USPs. It might not be the marketing USP. Does that make sense? Because maybe that's not the biggest hurdle, right? Maybe that's not the biggest challenge that this person has. Does that make sense? Okay, so we got access to funds as one of them. What else?
Time. Being that they need to close quickly. A lot of investors need to close sometimes next day.
Okay, all right. What's the next?
Relationship. Trust.
Okay, I'm gonna put that one down, and then we're gonna star this. Okay, what else?
That was it.
What about a deal?
What was that?
What about getting a deal?
Oh yeah. I was gonna put like inventory for that, but
Inventory,
yeah. Deal.
but like, here's the thing. As it relates to time, money, and stress,
Yep.
which is the one that sells most people?
Money.
Money. And typically it's how you make the money, right?
Yeah.
If you're saving people money, it's not as strong, right? Saving money and convenience,
Yeah.
right, are about the same, believe it or not. Okay, but making someone, if you said, hey, I'm gonna make you 100,000 versus I'm gonna save you 120, you still go for $100,000. Okay, it's just human nature. Okay. Now, if I'm an investor, my primary goal is to make a return on investment. Okay, so your number one USP has to address your investor's big problem. Okay, so a strong USP, okay, would be what kind of returns does this person want with 10% down? Okay, that's a really strong. Like, I can guarantee you a $100,000 return in less than 5 years with only 10% down. right? Who made the noise, right? Like that's what it sounds like. Now, let me tell you, I can guarantee anyone who buys a $400,000 property in Phoenix with 5% down, $100,000 return in 5 years. Okay? That's literally the minimal appreciation for the valley on a $400,000 house. Okay?
Is that a 4% appreciation value you're using?
5.
5.
Yeah. It's just a guarantee, right? You have to be able to guarantee. If you don't make, so an even stronger USP, right from here, goes, here's the solution, here's what you get, and now I'm going to guarantee that if you don't make $100,000 in 5 years, I will give you $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see how much better this gets? Okay. This is how we separate ourselves from places. Now, take a note from your lenders, okay? When everything changed for us, right, we had to become advisors. We had to become problem solvers. I used to, literally teach seminars on FHA loans and loan programs just to educate. That was my value proposition. My first one was, I'm available 7 days a week from 7 to 7 because my real estate agents needed somebody that was available, okay? And let me tell you, at the time, I was 23 years old, doing home loans. My agents had better loan officers, had people that had been working in the business for way longer than I had. So my value proposition to that competition was availability, because people with options, they're not available like 7-Elevens. Okay? So while they were too busy at their kids' games or at a wedding or doing something else that they prioritized, I could be the backup lender to take a prequel at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. Okay? So you have to figure out what's my person's biggest problem and what kind of value can I provide that's really strong and can I guarantee it. Okay? Now, depending on the market you're in, your USP is going to change. You really don't want to have the same one for 20 years unless it's solid. Okay? Like Russell Shaw has had one USP forever, and it's because it works in all markets. He coined it first. He spends a ton of marketing dollars to make himself make it prominent, and it always works. Okay, I've had many throughout my years. Okay, but the formula is to figure out the biggest problem that you have, and then address all these minor ones. Okay, so what type of return do your clients want to make?
That's a great question. I mean, it's deal by deal.
No, it isn't. Here's the thing.
9% cash on cash.
At least.
I'll be your investor.
Okay. Right, so here's the thing. Most people I'm picking on you just because we started.
No, please, yeah.
But here's the thing. Most people treat their business like the last person they helped. Okay, and that's just not how business is done. It just isn't. Like, yes, I have helped investors in Texas, investors in Florida. Do I say that I do home loans in Texas and Florida? No. Can I? Yes. I help all kinds of investors. I literally deal in DCSR. I deal in bank statement loans. But because the primary volume of clients that I help is first-time homebuyers buying a property $435,000 in Glendale, Phoenix, and Chandler, that's like my areas, right? I'm going to address issues that predominantly have to relate to that, because the other people that would look at my social media or hear my USP, it'll make sense for them too. Okay? So things you have to know, who your clients are, period. You have to know those numbers like the back of your hand. You gotta know what your buy box is so that you can guarantee it. If you are the real estate agent that can sell everything to anyone, people will treat you just like everyone else. And let me tell you this. This one, the reason I started, because it has no quantifiable value. Okay? There's not a soul in history, in sales, that is going to sell you on their horrible relationship networks, their terrible customer service, their horrible responsive time. In fact, they're never going to call you back, right? Like, that's just not how it works. And because real estate agents, I can't even tell you, I just left a mastermind right now where everyone's like, oh, my business is by referral. And I'm like, referred by whom? Oh, well, I have an agent list, or oh, my networking group. I'm like, that's not what you think it is. You think people just do business with you based on your referrals, like who you are as a person, your reputation, but they really do business with you based on your activities. Like you showing up to the networking group and engaging with the people is what brings the relationships. And oh, by the way, that's a business list. not your friends list. That's an actual pillar of business. And if you were going to get the majority of your business there, then you have to have a unique selling proposition that solves those people's problems.
Maybe she did, she just didn't even realize it.
This is the problem, is that if you don't know what it is, you don't have one.
Right.
You might just be very likable. And the thing is, you can do enough business to be likable, but not in a market right now where the media attention is on what you're worth. Like, everybody's eyes right now is, am I overpaying for my real estate transaction? Okay, what is my buyer's agent truly worth?
Is that because of the lawsuit that just happened?
That is because the lawsuit is, and that's because every single real estate agent making memes right now and videos right now is talking about it. And they're giving these long lists of God knows what, of all the activities that they do, and it's just not relatable to people. Like, I hate to say this, but the biggest enemy to real estate is people who work in real estate. Like, I could not tell you the first week that it came out, the content that I saw was good riddance buyer's agents. Good, thank God I'm a listing agent. Or good, only the best are gonna survive. And it's like, okay. Like, if that's what you're gonna put out, you're gonna confuse people. Like, then the general public goes, okay, well, even real estate agents think that other real estate agents are overpaid. You guys, I'm on transactions all the time where I hear someone say, oh my God, this agent didn't do anything. They just showed one property and I did all the work. Have you ever felt that way? I'm not gonna ask you to raise your hand, but you might have felt that way if you were in a real estate transaction. Okay, not knowing that that person showed them 60 houses and has worked with them for 2.5 years and got them credit repair and did all the things. Okay, so it's really important right now that people want to go, okay, well, if you're going to charge 6%, what does that mean for me? Okay, so I want to work on a different USP because I want to give you guys examples, and then if you signed up for this class, I'm going to email you a list of
You
all
kind
of
of gave
these.
me one earlier, which was availability.
Yeah, the one that I just gave you right now about the 10% financing,
Yeah.
I don't know what your rate of return
Yeah.
is. That's a really solid one.
100%.
And it's one that can go on your social media, it can go
Yeah.
on your Google pages. I help investors make $100,000 with 10% investment.
Yep.
Like, everyone wants to make 100,000. That's kind of the baseline for marketing. Okay, so things to consider. So most people work with buyers in the room. Even the listing agents I know work with buyers, right? There's not one person that's just listings. Okay, so for buyers, right, if we're going to come up with a unique selling proposition, what things do you think you can market? Brain, pick up.
I don't know, go back. Pick it up.
Okay.
We can
So-
probably market just like, I know for buyers, a lot of first time home buyers, loan programs, grants, things like that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about cost. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just say low down payment programs. Okay. What else?
Experience?
Nope, you can't quantify it. If you say my 16 years of experience gets you what?
Well, I guess you can ask, has anyone ever gone through the sales contract with you?
You can, and what value does that do for them?
Well, explain, maybe answering some questions that they may have and, maybe they didn't know they have, and some questions that they, of the
It's just hard. Okay, that's a really good one. I'm going to challenge you guys a little bit, and then I'm going to give you some answers.
Okay.
And this may not be tangible,
It's okay.
but getting the transaction to close. So I hang my license in Texas for 10 years, and that's what I mean. I'll stick with it. I'll figure out how to get it to close. I don't know if that's
It has to have a guarantee. Okay, let me give you some stats, and then I want you to look these stats up for your area on the Cromford report in comparison to your actual results. So did that make sense, that
Yes.
statement? I want you to see what everyone's doing on the Cromford report, and then I want you to compare it to your results. If your results are weaker, I want you to sell the average. Okay, if your results are stronger, I want you to use the average as your competition, okay? So things that you have to know of, nationwide, okay, The list price to what people will buy the house for, so the sales price is at 97%.
Wow.
Okay? So, as a baseline, if someone's buying a $400,000 house, because I can do that math in my head, 3% savings is how much?
12.
$12,000. So you could market, hey, I could save you $12,000 on your home purchase in just the negotiation of the price, but you have to quantify it, okay? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay. No, I was literally just about to piggyback on that, because I guess you could do like price reduction too. It's like, I could guarantee, X amount in price reduction based on the list price of your house. Kind of the same thing.
So
you were
here's the
getting
thing,
at.
we don't want to go to guarantees quite yet.
Yeah.
I want to just talk about what we do, but yes.
Okay, yes.
So like
So
right there, so
negotiating.
3%, hey, I will negotiate 3% off your listing.
Gotta have
Right?
the data. Has to
Right?
have the data with it.
Yep, my clients save on average $12,000 on their list price every time they list with me, or they buy with me. Okay? Isn't that strong? Like if you're talking to someone who's looking at low down payment, needs cash? Okay, right? So the other stat is the median closing cost concessions. So this is a midpoint. People get median and average confused all the time. And average is like a combination of what everyone does. And a midpoint is 50% have more, 50% have less, okay? But consumers think it's the average too. So just say median. Okay, is $10,000 of concessions. $10,000. So, how much money is it if you saved them 3% on their purchase price and got them $10,000 in concessions? How much is that?
22.
$22,000, right? $22,000. Hey, people who buy with me save $22,000 on their purchase price, on their purchase negotiations. Okay, that's a strong USP. Now, when you give $22,000 as a savings, can you charge 12? Yes, right? Because they just made 10,000. Okay, and that's assuming that they would have to pay it. Okay, now you've got to be able to show people what this looks like. Okay, so which is why it's a strong USP. Okay, so how much do you save people in negotiations? Okay, how much do you save them in closing costs? Okay, I don't know what this number is, but you guys do who do a lot of business. What's the median or average amount of all of the repair costs that you negotiate? Okay, now medians are really important, right, if you have few transactions. Okay, averages are great if you have a large spectrum of transactions. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so what you guys do is you guys save on list price, repair cost, concessions. So those are all of the monetary ways, right, that you can help people. Not to mention if you did a look back on all of the clients that you've sold property to, and I would probably go back to 2018 if you could, right, or just use the last 12 months as an example, right? What was the lowest percentage of return for your clients? And if you can guarantee that, hey, if you haven't made, at least $100,000 in 5 years on the property that you buy, when you go to list it, I'll do it for free. Okay? Or I'll give you back $1,000. Like those are things that's what the strong guarantee is. Hey, if I haven't been able to negotiate $22,000 off of your sales price, I'll credit you 1% back
I love
in
this.
commission.
too.
Okay. You love this?
I
Thank
love this
you.
because I already do all this. And I'm like, oh, it's just saying that. I don't, it's different when you say it because it's just something that I do,
You do
Well,
it,
it's-
but you don't say it.
I'm just like,
Or you
they're
don't tell
really,
people.
yeah, I like produce on what I do. And so they're at the end, they're like, wow, but,
You do it, you just don't articulate it, you
No,
haven't marketed it.
Which means you don't do it.
Well, no. She's she does the action, she's saving her clients the money, we're just not marketing our,
100%.
and this is what's hard, right, is that it's hard to sell yourself, okay? But when you're selling yourself, like your great customer service or your responsiveness, you really legitimately are selling yourself. What I'm telling you to do is market how the client wins with your help. Who's the winner in your marketing? the client. Okay? It takes you from being the hero to being the mentor, to being the advisor. Does that make sense? Too many times people are like, I'm the best team, I'm the number one team, I'm the this, I'm the that, look at me winning an award. And your clients have no idea what that means to them. Like seriously, they have no idea what that means to them. Okay? Alright, so other things that you can do, right? So who is a really good USP example in real estate right now that you can think of?
Oh, what's the guy that wants to buy houses all the time? I think he was MyHomeGroup earlier, and then he formed his own company.
Doug Hopkins?
Doug Hopkins, that's the guy. You ever seen him on TV?
No, but I know he does ads. Okay, so what's his USP?
He buys homes. Cash down.
So what is that solving?
That's solving somebody that needs to sell quick.
And why do people need to sell quick?
Well, the 100 reasons. Divorce, moving, job transfer,
Foreclosure.
time.
Okay.
Need to sell quick. Foreclosure coming up, back taxes.
Yeah, ours is, I guess ours is, we can fund in as little as 24 hours up to 90% of the purchase price with as little as,
10% down?
yeah.
Cool.
So
So people who need to sell quick. Part of the reason that I'm asking you to get more specific on who needs to is because then your marketing goes further. So it's like, hey, if you find yourself in a distressed situation, I know it's embarrassing, but let me tell you, there's nothing that's going to make things better than getting your finances straight. I have a quick 24-hour close that'll give you 90% more than my competitors or whatever.
What about Jennifer Wayner's? Hers is, I'll sell your home or guaranteed or I'll buy it back or whatever.
That is, yeah, but it doesn't have a strong beginning part.
Got it.
Like the why. You know,
Got
like
it,
if
yeah.
people were unsure, like that would be a good maybe relocation. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, I know you're relocating here from another state. If you don't like the area, I'll list this for
Yeah.
free. Right? So that way people get over the hurdle of not knowing here. Right? So that's why you gotta know what the specific issue is so you can address the time. But closing quick is great. What's an example of taking a long time to close?
From a buyer or seller point of view.
A buyer point of view. Like
They
sometimes
could have
people.
bad credit and they need 6 months to fix it.
Okay.
Appraisal issues and stuff.
So credit. What's a more obvious one?
Appraisal.
They need money, they gotta save up.
Okay. More obvious than this.
From a buyer,
What are buyers before they're owners?
renters, they have to get through their rental contract.
How to get through their lease. Okay? So who's a good example of time?
From buyer again,
Mm-hmm.
a renter, person who leases.
So a good example of someone with a strong USP for time is any of the new home sales. Okay? So if you were somebody that needed to buy a home anywhere between 9 to 12 months, like that's how you would market it. Hey, I know you're in a lease right now, saving up a down payment, working on your credit, but I have an awesome solution for you. I have 3 communities offering 5% for your build a year from now. Like, that's how that works, right? The reason I'm asking you guys to pull examples in your marketplace is, one, you gotta know your competition. Okay, just straight up, you gotta know your competition. And I know when people ask me questions on the spot, my mind goes blank. But like, I need you guys to know them, because if a consumer is up in your face and wants to know, hey, like, what are my options? I'm in a lease for 12 months. You know what most agents do? I literally run call night, so I can tell you. They go, okay, great, I'll call you back in October. Your lease is up in November? Literally, and you're laughing because you probably did it. Okay, but here's what you say is you go, you did? You go, oh my God, great news. You know, most people start their home search 18 to 24 months in advance. I have a ton of really great new build programs that will help you finance a house a year from now. We just have to get you out and seeing properties. What area of town are you looking at? Okay, another one is, oh my God, no problem. I know you're in your lease. Do you know what it would take to buy you out of it? Okay, most buyers that work with me save about $22,000 on their negotiations. Right? Their lease is like $2,000 to $22,000. Okay, this is a thing that gets them off the fence. Okay, like these are the things you are missing. Okay, all right. So Doug Hopkins is a good one for quick closes. Who else is a good one for quick closes?
The guy that does just $9.99 or whatever.
$9.90.
$9.90.
Greg had?
Yeah.
What is it? The 72 sold too,
72
right?
sold.
Another really great USP. Okay, so we're gonna say Doug Hopkins. So I want you guys to do your homework. Look at their stuff. 72 sold. $9.90. Interesting that these two came from the same person. Okay. All right. Who is a good example for stress?
Pays money.
What does he offer?
Basically buys you out of pre-foreclosures.
Okay, that's also, this could also be this too, but that is Case Morby. Okay. What else? Who's a big one? There's two big ones.
Open door?
Open door! Woo! And who's the competitor? OfferPad. Yep. Okay. Now, here's what most agents do. Okay. Most agents go after people that already have a lot of traction. So they'll come up with competing programs to this, just so you know. And because they're competing programs, you just send them to the people that already have established USPs. So you always have to know what the differentiator is in your thing, okay? So a really, really good example of somebody who has a unique selling proposition for time is the program HomeLight, okay? Now, HomeLight addresses a variety of things. Also, by the way, if you guys are not signed up with HomeLight, yeah, sign up with them, and then I want to be your preferred lender on that, by the way. But essentially, hey, I just gave you value I can ask.
there's.
Yeah. All right, so what HomeLight does is that they give you an all-cash offer on your property for 70% of whatever you can sell at home. Now, somebody might go, why would I sell my house for 70%? Well, we saw from OfferPad and Open Door that they will for the convenience and certainty of knowing their property is sold. Okay? They're not guaranteeing you the biggest return on your investment. They're saying, I will buy your property for this cash. Okay? Now, what they didn't do that's different from OfferPad and Open Door is that they're giving a window for your real estate agent after you close to sell your property up to 4 months. And if your real estate agent sells it for top value, all they charge is 2.4%. Okay? Now the value to the client is that if they're qualifying for a conventional loan, is I don't have to hit them with their current mortgage payment in their DTI because they have a cash offer. And they front them the difference between the 70% and their loan balance for their down payment. So they get cash, they get clearance on their DTI, and they can still participate in their maximum returns. Okay? Do you see how they took a similar solution and then improved on it? And it's different enough where you can sell against it. Okay? And you have another user group, which is real estate agents. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay, can you walk us step by step through that if you're the listing agent and you say, okay, I want you to go ahead and go to HomeLight and they're going to give you 70%. So then the seller's going to get 70%. So they're paying out 30%. Then they're going to pay another 2.5%. But if they get the 30%, they get the full price offer. They pay out 2.5% to HomeLight. But what do they pay the agent?
The agent has to negotiate their commission.
So it's 3%.
Yeah, like
or
how?
6%.
Yeah, how I
Gotcha.
would typically work it out is I think it would end up being like 7% commissions. The two agents would make 2% or whatever, and then you'd have the 2.5 or whatever it is. But you could work it out however you were. But the thing is, instead of taking 30% discount, you're taking 8.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
It's a huge difference. And a lot of what people want to do when they're wanting to go with OfferPad is they don't want to deal with the repair costs. They don't want to deal with moving out of their property. They don't want to deal with not being able to qualify and having a contingency. Like, that's why they sell their properties for cheap. It's like the convenience of not worrying about it. But most people, given a solution, might choose the other one if they had another option. But it's taking the same issue of stress and then altering it slightly. Does that make sense?
It does.
Cool. All right. Now, the reason that I am focused a lot on money for real estate agents is because when you are really good at talking about investments and ROIs, you become an advisor, and the relationship that you have with the client is completely different. So I know agents that show 60 properties, and I know buyers agents who literally will never show a property at all. They'll just have a really solid buyer consult, and they have buyer agents that show, or showing agents that show a property, and they close more deals than the ones schlepping people for 60 properties. Okay? Now, their value proposition is very different. The person schlepping people is like the Uber for real estate, and I'm sorry if that's you. And the people who are sitting down having consultations are talking to them about real estate as an investment. Okay, how does this maximize your wealth? What's your rate of return? What does the zip code look like? How much money are you going to put in here? Let me get you my vetted list of people who can get you $6,500 in a closing cost concession here. And let me, they are a literal investment consultant. Okay, so the reason that I wanted you to talk about how you negotiate things and how much money you make people or save people is because the majority of people want to go with the person that's going to make them $100,000. Okay, now none of these places can guarantee that in volume, which is why they address other problems. Okay, his thing is quick, fast, you need money.
Yep.
Okay, that's the most important thing to this demographic. He can guarantee that every time because he has a buy box. He knows he will buy your property at 70%. He can guarantee that he will buy your property at 70% because he knows he can sell it. Okay? If the margin is there, he'll do it. Okay? These people, same jam. Those people, same jam. Does that make sense? It's more difficult to quantify a money statement. Okay? So, from here, because we only got 10 minutes left. Alright, here's what I need you guys to look up. Go back, and I want you to find out who your clients are. I want you to list out their 5 biggest problems and relate them to time, money, or stress. Okay? Now, keep refining it down until you get the biggest thing your clients want. You may even have to call clients and just say, hey, I know you just bought a house. What was the number one thing you were looking for? Or just go through your client list. Okay? Or talk to your buyers now. If this is not a question you're asking, hey, tell me 5 years from now, what do you want this real estate property to have done for you? Okay? Like, there's all kinds of things you can do. You can do you can be the quick close expert. You can be the person that says, hey, I have a formula for appreciation. This is what you look for in housing. I have a buy box formula. I have a quick close formula, like all these different things. But you have to know the biggest one. Then you have to brand the solution, which is the USP. Okay? And then you have to be able to guarantee whatever that is. So if you can't guarantee it, the USP is not strong enough. Okay? Now I have a $500 on-time close guarantee to buyer and seller if I don't hit my closing date. Okay? Have I ever had to pay $1,000 before? Yes. Okay? But I do it majority of the time, so I don't have to pay for it, but it makes it a competitive advantage to a person that doesn't. Mm-hmm. Do you think in a competitive marketplace where there's no guarantees on financing, getting an earnest money plus $1,000 is something? Mm-hmm. Right? It is something. Yeah. So you just want to figure out, like, will you ever have to pay it? Guarantee it. Like, yes. There'll be once or twice that you will have to pay that because that's business if you're doing enough volume. Okay? But it should be the thing that you can guarantee 95% of the time. Okay? All right, what questions do you guys have? So I can answer them or we can work out some USPs.
I love this.
Anybody here have investment clients that they work with? Because if so, I've got a USP for you.
What if you have a seller that comes to you and go, well, I hear that most people who are listing aren't paying a buyer's broker fee anymore?
So this is a beautiful one, and actually I'm going to give 2 examples for this, so thank you for bringing that up. Is you should have a seller option with no buyer agent commission that includes all the marketing efforts that you will do to sell straight to consumers. So paying a buyer's agent, guys, is literally just a marketing ploy to attract more people to the house. It's just what new home sales do. They offer all different types of commissions, and they can be more than other builders to attract more people to those communities, okay? So if your seller decided, hey, I'm not interested in that type of marketing, what's gonna be your solution? You don't have to charge less than 6%. You can say, great, we don't have to pay a buyer's agent, but here's what I'm gonna do with the other 3%. I'm gonna do Facebook ads, I'm gonna hold this many open houses, and I'm gonna allocate, a 0.5% to have a buyer representative, because it separates liability between you and the buyer, right? They have to have their own representation so that we are not liable for anything that they miss, okay? And you have to have that solution for them so they get to choose, okay? Now their perception is that they will save money, but if you don't sell the house, no one makes money and they don't make money. Okay, so having said, you know what, that's a great question. Lots of people don't want to pay a buyer's agent right now. Here's the other ways that we would do it. You can make it 5%, right, so that they still perceive that they're going to save money. But you should have a marketing strategy that includes open houses, targeted ads, circle prospecting, and a buyer agent representative. Okay. Now, as a buyer's agent, you're going to have people who want to buy houses and they can't afford to pay you. Okay. So I would also offer a la carte services. So I would limit the number of properties you're going to show them. Right? They've got Zillow. They can look them up themselves. That's really not the value that you provide. I would give them a price to just negotiate the contract. Give them a price to negotiate the contract plus the appraisal plus the repairs. Right? What happens with the COE? Okay, one that shows them properties, and then just let them know that you have a fully vetted list of people. Right? So one advantage of using me as a lender is that we have 2 loan programs, one for $6,500 and one for $4,000. Now the people have to be income qualified or in the right zip code, but we give those grants out that can be used to either buy down the interest rate or pay your compensation. Okay, so you have other ways of getting the money. Okay, but I would have a la carte services, otherwise you're going to be working and doing a crazy job for like 1%. Okay, does that make sense? These are things you got to be thinking of, right? Like the people who are like, yeah, I'll do it for 5%, awesome. You'll do it for 5%, great, and here's what it takes. Or, oh, you'll do it for 3%? Okay, well 3 means we wait for buyers to come here, right? I mean, it's kind of nuts. Like if you don't have that marketing advantage, sellers don't really understand. The other thing is I want you guys to understand this math equation, okay? So a seller, okay, forgoes paying a buyer agent, okay? The normal sales process is that person upgrades into a more expensive property, and then will have to pay, if they choose, if they see the value in you representing them, either 2 to 3% to have you represent them. They actually end up losing money, right? If they just participated in the regular sales cycle, like the act of having to pay your buyer's agent to represent you on a more expensive house didn't save you anything. So like on the example, let's say you buy a $400,000 house, the 3% was $12,000. You buy a $500,000 house, you're paying $15,000. Okay? What'd you save? No, nothing. In fact, it cost you $3,000 more.
Not if they drop it to 2% as a buyer's agent. But that's all negotiable, yeah.
And you would have to talk about that, right? And so again, this is the thing. There will be a buyer's agent who will do it for 6%. And so you just have to be aware of what that is. But here's the thing. People will negotiate your value if you don't tell them what you bring to the table.
Right.
Like if you don't go, absolutely, here's what I charge for buyers, here's what that means to you, here's what I get on average for my clients, here's what it is. If you're not doing that, they'll just be like, oh, I'm just going to go with my cousin. She said she'll do it for 1%.
There's an old saying, price is only an issue in the absence of value. And that's what we're getting tested on now. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now because we're running out of time. But Lizy and I are doing a webinar next Tuesday that dives really deep into the lawsuit, the implications, systems, templates, scripts, and USP or value, how to get your value out there, how to get that buyer broker signed before you go out and show homes and all that. So Lizy, if you want to just write my email address up there.
We're going to email you the class information, so don't worry.
So yeah, we'll send you a flyer on it, but it's next Tuesday from 12 to 1. on Zoom.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys coming today. If you did get a nugget of information, I would appreciate being your loan officer on your next deal. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Yay. And I'm here to answer questions if you guys have any afterwards.
I have a question for you.
And Lizy's been my loan officer for 15 years, so
I love
there's
that.
nobody better in the business.
Wait, so how old were you, Lizzy? You were.
She was like 12.
You guys, I have been sick
That's
loans
crazy.
since college.
That is
I was a receptionist at a mortgage company.
Ask her about selling pet rocks at her house.
Pet rock. You did
My first
not.
business. It was my first business. So I had
What were the value propositions? What was your USP for your pet rock?
I learned USPs from my dad. My dad could sell ice to Eskimos. Seriously, he was one
I
of
love
the
that.
best salespeople I've ever met. But he literally said, I painted all these rocks and I was like, Dad, can I sell these? And he's like, here's what you do. 50 cents at the register when I'm handing people change. He's like, leverage your cuteness. And you know what happened, guys? People gave me way more than 50 cents and took the rock. I made $100. And that $100, I bought myself a $50 swap meet spot. And I started asking all the
Stop.
other swap meet people for their free stuff, like anything they were going to throw out or sell. I cleaned up as a 10-year-old rock person.
That's a great story.